What's the least successful vote in Fallout 3? In my opinion, it's the Vote 92. It was once a home for truly exceptional people, aiming to save and develop American musical talents. In fact, another disgusting experiment was conducted there to create a new type of weapon. Construction of the Vote began in May 2062 and was completed in 2068. As everyone knows, the bombs fell in 2077, giving enough time to test and equip the Vote. It was designed to accommodate approximately 245 inhabitants and to be their home for 100 years. General Atomics installed a nuclear engine in the Vote, and it was also equipped with a supercomputer called Brainpower 7. The project was presented to the public as a Vote exclusively for talented musicians. If a person was a good singer, or could play the piano, violin, or other musical instruments, a place for him in the Vault was guaranteed. To meet the needs of the musicians chosen for preservation in the Vault, it was equipped with a vast array of musical and recording instruments, as well as equipment needed to conduct the experiment. The Vault's secret mission was that after the doors closed on October 23, 2077, Overseer Richard Rubin began implementing a plan called White Noise Mind Suggestion Combat Experimentation. The Overseer received precise instructions but modified Voltek's plan over time. The experiment aimed to artificially create combat skills in humans through low-frequency white noise. The first tests were conducted on subjects in isolated recording booths, and they showed some success. Test subjects became forgetful and did not notice anything suspicious, as all unusual equipment was well hidden. In some cases, people could still notice slight fluctuation in the sound or equipment inconsistencies and malfunctions, but the truth was revealed to them only at the most critical moment. Life in the Vault continued. People started families and formed relationships. The experiments continued day by day without signs of anything going wrong. The relative success prompted Overseer Rubin to go further and continue following the plan. You might be familiar with the concept that the frequent subtle addition of frames with certain commands can make people obey them. Similarly, in Vault 92, people were constantly receiving imperceptible messages via white noise. Together with Professor John Malleus, the Overseer gradually expanded the area of influence of the sound. Low-frequency emitters were connected to speakers throughout the Vault. This was because the music inside of isolated boxes could muffle the white noise and distort the messages transmitted. At this stage, Malleus was not fully aware of all the details of the experiment and was generally satisfied with the results. To ensure the proper distribution of the noise, the Overseer banned personal players and headphones. In addition to the noise distribution in recording studios, the Overseer activated emitters in residential areas, excluding the block where the professor resided. Throughout the day, people were exposed to noise even while sleeping, causing irreversible changes in the minds of the Vault inhabitants. Malleus believed he was studying the effect of white noise on people only inside special rooms in recording studios. The first control group showed that approximately 33% of all people entered trance. Later, Malleus' group integrated minor fluctuations by tweaking the emitters, showing tremendous success. 100% of people were affected by white noise and eventually entered the trance. With approximately a 1% margin of error, the Overseer changed the frequencies transmitted within the Vault using Malleus' group's developments, adding cruel messages that caused people to degenerate and go mad gradually. As we all know, Vault-Tec experiments usually do not go as planned or desired. The success in the Vault 92 was temporary. The first serious problems appeared almost immediately, when test subject V920717 flew into a rage and went berserk. He managed to acquire a weapon, killing 3 Vault residents, and turning the studio into a bloody mess. Low frequencies transmitting the messages seemed to have a devastating effect on him, or perhaps he heard the white noise too often. Nevertheless, the Overseer decided to proceed and create ideal super soldiers obedient to him. Initially, the experiment aimed to develop a technology in the Vault that could turn anyone into a super soldier, resilient, obedient, strong, agile, and capable of efficiently completing assigned missions. After the first test subject lost control, security personnel were forced to eliminate him. He ended up with 23 gunshot wounds before he stopped moving. Professor Malleus began questioning the effects of white noise, since the test subject never had serious psychological disorders or showed aggression. The overseer, however, considered the test subject's behavior a success and his death as a collateral damage. The experiments continued, and the first body was sent for autopsy to determine the cause of the subject's aggression. What no one could know was that white noise had already caused irreversible changes in the minds of the residents, resulting in mental fog, vomiting, nausea, or gradual loss of cognitive functions and fine motor skills, inevitably leading to psychosis. Eventually, the entire vault became a death trap. Vault-Tech placed the vault under underground water sources that could cause corrosion over time. They infiltrated sections of the vault, causing serious flood. On the lower levels, corrosion caused partial or complete collapses of concrete structures. People tried to repair some areas of the vault, but their efforts only provided temporary solutions, though corrosion and collapses were not the main problems. Within just one subsequent month of tests, another 12 incidents occurred. 10 people were affected by white noise, 7 of whom died. People attacked each other, and once respected musicians tore off limbs from themselves and others, causing several more deaths. Malleus asked Rubin to end the experiment and solve the problem. However, the overseer ignored all of the professor's pleas, leaving the vault residents abandoned to their fate, isolated deep beneath the radiation-scorched earth. Rubin integrated another phrase into the white noise by saying sanity is not statistical, straight from 1984. Guards could calm people in a state of psychosis. However, by that time, approximately 70 people, or 30% of the vault population, were so affected by the white noise that psychosis occurred spontaneously, independent of the white noise playback, permanently changing brain structure. 35 people, who were test subjects, had already died by that point. Professor Malleus considered the entire experiment a mistake and a failure, believing that white noise caused degeneration of individuals, ultimately creating zombies, soulless, mindless, and aggressive beings. About half of the vault was in critical stage of psychosis, while the others were either under the overseer's control, such as security personnel, or had joined Malleus. The overseer refused to follow Professor Malleus' plan, even as more and more people fell into a rage. The code phrase either had no effect over time or completely stopped working, but Rubin still refused to acknowledge his mistakes, and ordered the guards to kill Professor Malleus. Some vault residents began organizing an escape, acquiring weapons and preparing to flee. However, just reaching the exit posed a significant risk. The effects of white noise reached their peak, and a massacre started in the vault. Malleus learned the truth from a mortally wounded god. He discovered that the experiment he was working on was always controlled by Rubin, with sound transmitters placed in living quarters. There were minimal transmitters in the recording studios, and the white noise was constantly affecting people. As a result, the outcome of the experiment led to the half of the vault's population being dead, while the other half split into two groups. Malleus couldn't believe that the experiment was initiated by Vault-Tech, as too many inconsistencies arose during its execution. He decided to challenge the overseer and make him answer for his actions. The vault gradually deteriorated and became uninhabitable, with mirrorworks and other mutated creatures establishing colonies on the lower level. Only the bodies of once talented musicians and various weapons remained inside. Some residents managed to escape, but what happened to the overseer and the professor is a mystery. Now, understanding the vault's history, let's find out what might bring you here and explore some interesting findings. In the wasteland, near Canterbury Commons and Vault 92, lies Agatha's house. It is well hidden among the rocks, accessible only by a single hanging road. Agatha and her husband isolated themselves from the wasteland a long time ago, though occasionally trading with the passing caravans. All she does all day is broadcasting her playing on self-made violin via a radio made by her husband, who unfortunately passed away. Agatha is dissatisfied with her music. Understanding that her violin isn't perfect, she could share something very special with you. She knows the location of an ancient Antonio Stradivari's violin, made long time before the nuclear war. Such violins do exist and are considered masterpieces, with prices reaching millions nowadays. Her great-great-great-grandmother, named Hilda, obtained the violin before the war. Hilda couldn't miss the chance to join the vault, where she would potentially live among talented musicians and have a chance to escape the nuclear bombs. Hilda kept the violin in a special case with ideal temperature and humidity, which possibly could preserve it for ages. This would mean that the violin Agatha needs is approximately 500 years old. Unfortunately, Agatha doesn't know where the vault is and suggests visiting the Vault Tech headquarters to find the information. Inside the headquarters, robots and super mutants will threaten you, but you'll eventually find out where the violin is located. The first thing you'll notice in the Vault 92 is that the vault's door is open, indicating that some residents managed to escape. Don't forget that Agatha herself is a descendant of one of the survivors. Next, you'll see ruins and desolation. While exploring the vault, you'll face blood flies and mirrorworks that likely entered with the water. Skeletons of people, mines, and various traps will await you inside the vault, depicting the events of the Vault 92's final days. This place literally became a war zone. Every skeleton has a story. Perhaps someone was killed by other musicians in a state of psychosis. Someone may have died from blood loss, or was shot by a loving spouse. Among these skeletons might be remnants of Rubin or Malleus. Inside, surprisingly, you won't find traces of human presence. Raiders and merchants might have ventured into the vault, but the scene of desolation drove them away almost immediately. From terminals scattered throughout the facility, you'll see how the Overseer conducted experiments, not valuing human lives at all. You'll discover people trying to repair breaches, but were ignored, or find stories of two loving hearts that gradually both lost their minds. You can activate the white noise that will instantly kill all mirrorworks inside. Find musical instruments, notes, and various equipment. Eventually you'll come across a recording room with the Stradivari violin. It is in the case on a table, surprisingly still in a working condition. You can sell the violin to Abraham in Rivet City's museum for quite a high price, but I prefer returning it to Agatha and finishing the quest at this stage. If you bring Agatha musical notes that you can find among the vault's junk, you'll receive a decent Black Hawk revolver, which essentially can be called a rifle, and you will gain an access to Agatha's radio station, where she will be playing classical music, enriching your Wastelands journey. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, like the video and leave your comment.